Welcome, everyone, to the U Plus AI Vodcast. I'm your host, Ranga Sampath. And today I have with me Dr. Josh Case. Welcome, Josh. We just finished a podcast recording with Dr. Josh Case, where we talked about very, very interesting insights, his experience as a healthcare professional, why he's chosen to leave full-time medicine and explore opportunities at the intersection of healthcare and technology, about his book, Code Blue, about his experience of being a creator, and his advice and tips to young professionals around the world. So don't miss the podcast with Dr. Josh Case. With that, I welcome Josh, and I would ask him to introduce himself in the segment called Elevator Pitch.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Ranga. I don't know if I can do a better job than that, but I'll certainly give it a go. My name's Josh. I'm a junior doctor and software developer from Brisbane, Australia. I'm passionate about innovation, global health, quality improvement, and importantly, encouraging clinicians to engage with technology. I recently reduced my clinical hours from full-time to part-time, sort of went out on a limb to try and build technologies that make hospitals safer and more efficient across Australia and the world. And I try to document my progress as transparently as I can and sort of share that with the world in the hopes that even if I fail, other people will learn from the types of things that I'm working on.
Great. Sounds good. Sounds good. And I've certainly checked out joshcase.dev. A lot of good information out there. So certainly recommend that to our audience as well. So, okay, let's get into the fun stuff, Josh. Here's our first segment. I call it true or false. So I will give you a statement and you can say true or false and justify why you think that is so. All right?
Let's do it.
Plain and simple, just simple. Okay. Here's the statement for you, true or false.
Yeah.
Digital health will widen and not bridge the digital divide. True or false?
Wow, that's a big question. Look, I'm going to say false. And the reason I'm going to say false is that I think one of the biggest areas of digital health is in fact telehealth. And when we think about telehealth or remotely practicing medicine, remotely practicing healthcare at distance, that's normally in an outreach sort of setting. So in Australia, we have lots of this, very populated cities on the perimeter of our country. And in the center of our country, it's very hot, it's very arid. We have small communities that don't have any resources. And so telehealth or digital health, which are very similar, provides a lot of outreach services via Zoom or equivalent programs for people to see specialists that they wouldn't be able to otherwise. So I think the answer to that is false. I don't think it's going to widen the gap, although I do see potential for that. Certainly when we start talking about tertiary centers, major hospitals, remotely getting the best neurosurgeon in the entire world for this operation, remotely get them into the operation for example, someone from the US to Australia. You could argue that will widen the digital gap because, third world countries won't have access to that sort of thing. But look, I think for the most part, it's actually going to lessen the gap.
Okay, thank you for your perspective, Josh. So let's move on to our next segment. It's called Fill in the Blanks. And here I give you a sentence and I'll say dash dash. You can fill it with a word or multiple words or a phrase, however you want to, right? So let's go ahead, fill in the blanks. The most valuable skill that anyone connected with the future of healthcare needs to develop is dash.
A willingness to take risks to improve outcomes in the future. That's honestly what I think it is. I think medicine and healthcare in general is a very defensive profession. We're very conservative. We're all trained to see risk. But I think we need a willingness to take risks to improve outcomes in the future. I think that's the number one thing, that muscle that we need to train as an industry.
Wow, and I would say healthcare, yes, but probably that's applicable to so many other industries too, even technology, right? Because
Yeah, absolutely.
as a technologist, I know in many technology sectors too, we are conservative. Change takes time, and risk is often frowned upon. Like, so
absolutely.
thank you. Great. So let's get to our next segment. This I call Imagine. And here I give you a scenario connected with healthcare, but it's 10 years from now, that is 2030 onwards, right? And you can let your imagination run riots and tell us how you think that would be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So here's your scenario. It is the year 2030. You wake up and notice that you're not able to hear the steady hum of your refrigerator when you walk past it. You remember that you've been turning up the volume on your mobile phone lately when you receive calls, and sometimes have even asked your callers to repeat what they have said. Walk us through your imagination of how this would proceed towards a diagnosis and perhaps a resolution 10 years from now, 2030.
Well, that's a great prompt, Ranga. I think dreaming 10 years in the future is always an exciting thing to do. I think the first thing that I'd say is it's my hope that within 10 years, I certainly wouldn't wake up with a very profound hearing loss in the way that you've described in this prompt. It's my hope that my mobile phone or any other sort of wearable technology that I'm wearing, that we're using by then, would have been able to identify the warning signs of this kind of thing quite early and allow me to get to a point where I can get an intervention that sort of saves the hearing that I've got. As you know, sort of working in the health ecosystem, prevention is way better than a cure. If we can reserve whatever hearing capabilities you've got, that's what we aim for. So I would hope that I would never actually wake up suddenly being deaf as a doornail. I would hope that my devices, my technology around me would actively identify evidence of hearing loss. Maybe that's using the phone too loud, as you're saying, or listening to music louder and louder over time. I would hope that my wearables, my technology would identify that early and prevent that happening in the first place. So that's probably the most exciting thing. The thing that I'm most excited for is technology that helps us early detect disease in an early way or at an early stage that lets us intervene at a meaningful time.
Very well said. And that also speaks to technology interventions that can pick up these signs even before they are within our consciousness that something's happening. So something that early, which can be very useful for us, because obviously you don't want to wake up one day and say, hey, I'm hearing a bit low. But if it would have picked it much earlier, then probably you would be on the path to a treatment or ways that you can preserve what is left.
You're absolutely right.
Sure. Thank you, Josh. Okay, so we move on to the last segment of our podcast. I know you would like this. You're a Twitter person. This is called a tweet saves the day, right? So here I give you a scenario and I ask you to write a tweet. You don't have to write it. You can share it with us to save the day, sort of, right?
Yeah.
So here's your scenario. Healthcare professionals are not compensated on par when they use digital health solutions rather than traditional conservative approaches. This has given rise to a backlash against the use of digital health solutions for patient care. You're given a chance to write a tweet to tactfully weigh in on the situation. What would you tweet?
Wow, this is really topical that this has come up today, Ranga, because in Australia, just this morning or perhaps last night, a prominent GP, a prominent general practitioner came out and said, for the financial viability of all our general practice offices in Australia, we need to leave telehealth behind and go back to in-home visits, because they think they're going to, and to be honest with you, the way the current modeling, the financial modeling is set up, they're going to earn more money when patients come to visit them versus telehealth.
Interesting. So it's very timely.
It is very, very timely. Very, very timely indeed. To be honest with you, in terms of a tweet to save the day, I think to get maximal bang for your buck for your tweets, you need to tag meaningful people in your tweet. So I'd probably try and tag our health ministers and people who are relating to the Medicare, which is, I guess, the way our public billing works in Australia. And I'd say something like financial models for healthcare reimbursement in Australia need to change today to benefit health, patient outcomes, and general practice viability in a post-coronavirus world. Something like that. I don't know. You've only got 140 characters to play with, so.
Yeah. Oh, it could be a thread.
A thread. Well, knowing me, I would turn it into a thread because I want to get all my ideas out. You know.
That's right. That's right. Well, fantastic. Thank you. That was good. Thank you for your tweet. And that wraps up. So thank you, Josh Case. It's been most wonderful to talk with you on these fun segments and get your perspectives. Also, I'd like to remind our audience again that we just finished a podcast with Dr. Josh Case on the U+AI podcast. You can get it at uplusai.com and in all popular podcast apps. Do be sure to listen in to get Josh's wonderful insights and his tips for professionals at the intersection of healthcare and artificial intelligence. Thank you so much. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you so much for having me, Ranga. It's been great to get to know you, and I look forward to seeing what happens with U+AI.
Fantastic.